Hi everyone, this is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life and Prime Lunchtime with City Manager Brian Johnson. Thank you, Brian, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
This is great. Every month we do this, we get to find out about a lot of things going on in Peachtree Corners. And just to whet your appetite, this 45-minute session, we're going to be talking a bit about the bridge and when it's going to be installed, some state house bills that may relate to the City of Peachtree Corners, what's going on in Town Center, the new night market, what's going on in the Curiosity Lab, and of course the coronavirus and information about that possibly, along with the festival, Fiserv, and everything else that we discussed. So we'll try to get through all of this within the next 45 minutes to an hour and let you know what's going on. But in the meantime, I'd like to introduce some of our sponsors. So we are in a podcast room in the middle of the City of Peachtree Corners in a place called Atlanta Tech Park, which was founded by Robin Benfei, Chief Enterprise Innovation Executive Officer for Samsung. She's worked for other companies as well as a high-level executive. And this hub, this innovation hub that we have here in the City of Peachtree Corners that Robin founded is a collaborative workspace, 90-plus companies. It actually has a outreach throughout the Southeast through its venture capitalist arm that is involved with 14 companies as well. Event space here, Financial Fridays, a venture capitalist organization called Valor Venture that's here as well. And anything, if you're a startup or established business, this is the place to be. Even Hargrave Fiber, our next sponsor, has had an event here just recently, a day ago. So other companies can come here to use this facilities for its event space, its boardrooms, its conference rooms, and all that. So AtlantaTechPark.com is the place to find out more information about them. And this actually sits on the 1.5 mile autonomous vehicle track, Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners, right?
It does.
And it's 5G enabled through Sprint. It's a place that provides startups and established businesses a resource and a place, a living lab with people driving cars and all that they can put their technology to see if it's working, to validate it, to build that next generation of IoT, smart city, mobile technology, anything in that area. That's what Curiosity Lab at Peachtree Corners is. And the hub, even though that's wireless and 5G enabled, that backbone of that has to be brought in from the internet. And that's our lead sponsor, HargraveFiber.com. Hargrave Fiber is based out of Hilton Head Island, and they are expanding throughout the Southeast. Their biggest thing is to be the local partner to enterprise businesses in communities that they want to work in. Thriving communities, places they want to be part of, where they've been part of nonprofits and organizations in these communities that they're going into, like Lawrenceville, like Peachtree Corners, and other cities here in the Southeast and around Atlanta as well. So check them out. They provide some of the best services, enterprise-level business solutions for managed IT services, solutions that would deal with internet, TV, and phone. They're your local person, local company that can deal with you instead of places that are way too big to call and talk to. So check them out at HargraveFiber.com. Now that we've done our introductions to our sponsors, let's just get into what we're doing here in the City of Peachtree Corners, Brian. Every month we do this, and there's always something new, and of course there's always challenges that the city has and stuff. But one of these is the pedestrian bridge, and we're finally getting to that point. April, maybe?
So, right now there are 3 different aspects of the bridge that are being constructed. The one that we can all see at the location are the two ends,
Right,
where they're pouring the concrete for the elevator shaft, the stairs to go into the platforms at the end of the bridge, and then that's where the 2 ends, where the
Right.
bridge span itself will be set, will be set into. And so that we can see. But then at another location, it's actually in Fort Payne, Alabama, they're actually constructing the span itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty big span because
Right.
it's a wide road, and so they're welding all the pieces and it's each weld on it has to be inspected by Georgia Department of Transportation because it's over their roadway.
Right.
And so that's being done there. And then here in Peachtree Corners, a company called IMG,
Mm-hmm.
they are cutting, doing the precision fabrication of the panels that will go on the sides that are acting as essentially the railing to prevent people from jumping off or throwing things.
out. And that's the
And
signage
so
part also.
that's the
isn't
signage. And so when you look at it from a distance, it will have holes punched in it such that it'll say, it'll have the branded leaf from the tree and our
it?
logo
Right.
and Peachtree Corners written across it. When you're close to it, it's almost like looking through a screen door.
Yeah.
There's so many holes that you can see through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can tell you're looking through something, but you can still see through it.
Yeah.
And
So that signage is actually going to be on both sides of that bridge?
it is.
Cool. So whether you're coming up south from Johns Creek or going north into over the river, you'll be able to see Peachtree Corners.
Yep. So that one's being cut here.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were around April is when we think that the span will be brought in.
Okay.
And then we've got to assemble the panels on the side of the span we have to assemble that on the shoulder. I mean, in a perfect world, you would put the bone structure of the span into place, and then you would put all the panels up after the span was, but we can't do that because it would require shutting down 141 for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And we both know that will not happen. So,
And now you're doing this over a weekend, a Friday, Saturday.
right.
Like
So we do have to have about, 2 to 2.5 days to set the span in place,
Right.
to do all the welding and fixing, and then get it inspected. And that's after the panels have already been put on. That'll be welded in on the side of the road right there.
Wow. Okay.
And then they'll set it in place. And that's just going to be like a Friday night through Sunday evening. And of course, the detour around that section's not all that far. You just go up Peachtree Corner Circle to Medlock and
Right.
back around.
Yeah.
So it's not all that hard. But anyway, that's where we're at. So,
Okay.
sometime in May, we think that the span will be, in place enough that the bridge looks like it'll essentially look. Now, it may not be cleared to walk across, but
How long will that take?
it just depends on weather inspections because you just got a lot of inspections before it's open
So
to the public.
weeks or
It's going to be weeks, yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, not only that, but then you may actually have the span approved to walk on, but then the two ends have a lot of that final, the final garnishments put on the outside of it.
Sure.
We've got the two, towers have some exterior aesthetic stuff to go to, and you've got like, LED lights to light up certain things at night. That takes a while.
Was there also a bridge that was, not a bridge, but a walkway that was going to be designed, or that's not part of it yet as far as going towards?
So there
Like
are
the
some
town
designs
center.
out there that have ramps
Yeah, and those
going
are,
up to the top.
yeah.
No, those are not part of it for a couple reasons. One, if we did it and you did it to ADA, which is I think a 4-to-1 maximum gradient, it requires a lot of material because you can't go very steep, even to make it handicap accessible, so to speak. And so it's about the same amount as the bridge if we did those. So
I was actually thinking more like I thought there was a walkway going out towards into town center from the bridge, but I think that was the.
well, there will be two of them when you hit the
Excuse me.
bridge. When you come down by Lazy Dog,
That was it.
you will be able to take the sidewalk along 141, like you already have that kind of wider multi-use trail.
Right.
That will extend all the way up to Forum Drive.
Okay.
But then, we've got that creek that goes along there.
Correct.
There will be another bridge linking up the Indigo Hotel to the town center, but it'll be back off of 141 and link them up really between Cinna Bistro and the back of the parking deck.
Gotcha.
So it's not close to
Okay.
141.
And that's later anyway. That's not even right now.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right, so let's head into, since the State House is in session, and God knows there could always be bad things coming out of a State House session or good things. So let's talk about some of the bills that might be there that the city would be concerned about or happy about.
So, unfortunately, we've talked about this before. Most of the time when the General Assembly is in session, we're playing defense. And by defense, it's usually bills that would erode our ability as a community to have a say in what we do here.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. In fact, just recently, even at the federal level, the FCC preempted local governments from being able to decide where what's called small cell or smaller but more abundant 5G cellular towers would go within the right of way of a city. And
so they're still discussing that. I remember that bill.
No. So the federal government has basically said these telecommunication companies can put it in the city right away. The city cannot deny it.
Okay.
Georgia then went and added some other things, both for some rights for cities and telecommunication companies. And the ultimate bill in that is there's still a set of guidelines, still some degree of influence a city can have. But if all the guidelines are met, there are scenarios in which a telecommunication company has a right to put it in the city's right of way.
Okay.
If they meet all of them. And so it's, so we have a lot of those. So like right now, there's some bills that prevent cities from deciding the exterior building material that can be used on certain parcels.
Really? I remember the building materials was another one.
So, there's a bill that says, the city cannot legislate for a developer the type of building material or color that a building could be.
See, that's funny because you used to be able to, at this point you can.
You can.
And this is how the forum was considered. This is how town center was created also, because the city was allowed to say those things. So that's crazy. That's like, what if you're historic downtown place?
Actually, the historic, there is a carve out if you're in a historic district.
Well, historic district, formerly historic district, but if the rest of that area is also historic look, you could still screw that up by not having that ability to.
And a lot of these bills that do things to erode local control, they come from a special interest group coming, usually out of this could be the, development community.
Right.
Doesn't like the cities to tell them what to do, and so they lobby it. But they usually, unfortunately, have an example or examples plural of cities out there that have abused it. There's usually, somebody who ruined it for everybody.
Yes.
And so I don't like to sit here and say that all the cities acted responsibly and reasonable. There's always some unreasonable ones, and they cite those examples. But the problem is it's the adage of throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
So they overcorrect. So that one's one that we're not particularly a fan of. Last year it was successful in removing cities from being able to determine the material made or the material that to be used on structures built within the city.
Right. Whether it's
a couple of
metal.
cities, that had it. If it was going to be over, I want to say 3 stories, like 4 or more, it had to be structural steel and not wood.
Right.
And the timber industry lobbied and did not like that and said it's not fair. And so it was changed to where now cities can't decide that. And so there's a lot of those that are happening. It is what it is, but we're pretty, we're well represented from lots of different angles, so we feel pretty good. Some of the bills that we've fought against in the past, like, removing cities' abilities to put fees on the property tax bill,
Right.
Which would cost us a lot of money. That hasn't materialized this session, and so we keep our eye on those kind of things. So it's going pretty well.
Okay.
Nothing,
Nothing
nothing
real
this
big.
year that was really. We did not have any local legislation. We did not introduce any local legislation, so nothing that we were particularly looking to.
Okay.
And the last time we did was the charter. Time before that was the Public Facilities Authority.
Right.
Both of which the sky was going to fall, according to some people, when we did that.
Yeah, the city's doing fine now.
Right. I mean,
and actually better, I think, for its citizens is the way I feel. Next thing on the list is something I've been tracking. I've been listening to CDC's telebriefings every Friday and Wednesday. Was it Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday? And it just gets a little bit more dire each time. And to the degree that we know the spread will happen in the U.S. as it's happened in Italy, South Korea, and a whole bunch of other places. The only continent it's not on is Antarctica.
right.
And and now they're even talking about community spread, which is not linked to anything from China necessarily, and they can't track it back. So they're dusting off the 2017 pandemic report they put together to be able to use some of that to engage the community and mitigate the situation. But what has the city thought about this? Has there been any discussions informally or formally about this?
There has, more informally at this point. I mean, meaning it hasn't been done at a council meeting or whatever, but they have. So just this morning, my communication director and I got together, and she's going to write up some points about this to just kind of let our citizens know both where we feel our role is at this point, and just to be cognizant of things. And I'll preface it by saying, right now it's a public health issue.
Right.
And we're not a public health organization. So a lot of our information we're taking from 3 sources. And residents can go there. You start with the county health department.
Mm-hmm.
They have information about this kind of stuff out there. Then you got the Georgia Department of Public Health, which is another organ. And then you got the CDC,
right,
which, is tasked with this kind of stuff. And of course, we here in Metro Atlanta kind of consider that our own anyway.
That's
but
right.
We track those 3 organizations too. There's a lot of, reuse of the same information, but we're taking our lead from them as far as what precautions should be taken, how serious the risk of spread is, all that kind of stuff. Now, much like anything else, the spread of anything else, being diligent about washing your hands.
Sure.
If you're sick, covering coughs or sneezes, or if you don't feel good, don't go into public places where you could, type of thing. Where our role will really come into play is if there is some sort of an outbreak here, and now there needs to be the regulation of activity within the city limits. Meaning there needs to be, if the schools need to be let out early or not let out or whatever, we can help facilitate that. If news needs to get out or certain public service announcements, we are in a unique position to do it. If you got to close roads or close this or that, but we're going to still take our lead from other organizations and merely be their support for our local community, because it's going to be a public health crisis if it gets there.
Correct.
And so we're gonna listen to the public health organizations and say we've got to do X. And
and there's also, I would imagine at some point though, there has to be some plans for if there is a spread and city government can't meet on a regular basis, and how that would be done, and how, we have limited government services that the city actually puts. Gwinnett Police take care of things. I'm sure they have plans in place, hopefully. EMT, fire department. So, this city's fortunate we don't have necessarily a lot of services to deliver, but if the city council has to meet, and if there was a spread or things happened here, I would imagine there's some things that you may be able to do.
Oh, there are. So first of all, our charter, taken after the model city charter, the League of the Georgia Municipal Association publishes every year. It it's been around for many, many years before technology existed. And so there are emergency powers that both myself and the mayor have in times of crisis,
Okay.
in which either, in some cases, both of us may have certain authorities to, incur debt for certain things, make purchases without, doing public bids. I
Right.
mean, it kind of suspends some of the public, financial guidelines and restrictions in these certain crisis periods. And so that's already in place. But nowadays, with the exception of maybe if we lose electrical, that kind of thing, but
Right.
our ability to remotely meet is, I'm daily now having video teleconferencing meetings daily.
Well, would a city council be able to
Oh,
do
yes,
that, to
absolutely.
legally hold its own city
Absolutely.
council? Okay.
And so and again, during times of crisis, you generally don't have the powers that be understand that you're not going to be able to get everybody together.
Right.
So again, that's why it temporarily can give a person more
little bit more
authority than
authority,
normal. But even if we needed to, again, that technology has become so pervasive
Sure.
that you could have a FaceTime public meeting,
Yeah.
let alone at City Hall. I can end up having every member come up on one screen,
Right.
and they
just
see
do
the
it from
entire
there.
room and just do it from there, so that you don't have to get together, you don't have to subject yourself to maybe sick people or whatever, but you can still conduct a business of the city. So we're not too worried about it, as far as our ability to conduct business.
Right.
But we, when it comes to things, we're definitely there to support the public health organizations that are going to end up guiding the actions. And I think we're probably no dissimilar to any other government.
I would think.
They're going to take their lead from.
Yeah, and I think individuals and corporations. I mean, some of the larger companies are actually planning on things. And listen, even for and I look at what I do. I mean, I could telecommute almost all my work, for example.
Right.
If God forbid something happened. And we're not China. This is not a dictatorship. You're not going to close down a city of 2 million people and quarantine them the way China did, and they were able to lock down that spread. That won't happen here like that. The spread here will no doubt be wider, I believe, and I think so. Obviously, the CDC believes that too, that it will definitely be wider here because we don't have the same culture and the same limit of freedom.
Or ability to limit freedom.
Or the ability to limit freedom, correct. Because that's what China was able to do, and that's why people are saying, wow, it didn't spread there. Well, that's because of that.
Although others are arguing that their ability to restrict personal freedom did translate into the restriction of the flow of information. This got bigger than it needed to be at the outset because they kept it under wraps
for about 3 or 4 weeks, actually, or
and
longer.
They had multiple physicians that were treating the first patients that have passed away themselves.
Yeah.
I
remember one of them that was trying to get out the information. He was a young guy and passed away. So just keep vigorous attention to what's going on.
Yes. Wash hands.
Yes.
Be cognizant of your
seconds,
violation of space of other people or their of yours.
Be respectful.
Yep. Be respectful. And again, if there's any doubt, don't go to public places if you don't feel great or whatever. And maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a common cold, but
or the regular flu.
Or the regular flu, which
still
kills a lot more people than this.
In the scheme of things,
Yep.
The fatality rate's lower, way lower, but you still shouldn't be spreading stuff you shouldn't be spreading.
No.
Right? Okay. All right. There's also town center. Hopefully it'll get warmer at some point.
And stop raining.
And stop raining, yes. We might actually enjoy town center at some point. So I know that I saw the release of the summer movie schedule that's going to start in June, so that was cool. When there's also a bunch of other events, including the night market that's going to be starting up in May,
I believe. Yep.
So what else is going on there? I mean,
before we get into that, over the off season, we made some decisions and and move forward with some plans based on what we learned after the first year,
Sure.
first season, so to speak.
Mhm.
One is, if you've been out there recently, we are permanently building the stage much higher
Cool.
so that we don't have to rent a stage, from before, because there are people who are saying it just wasn't quite high enough.
Yeah. It was kind of low.
Um,
If you're in the back, you couldn't really see.
Right. And so we've got new playground equipment coming in.
Nice. With hopefully shelter and stuff from the sun.
No, not the playground equipment. It's
Okay.
just climbing stuff and
Okay.
all that kind of, just for.
I remember
for more
people were
kids.
complaining about the metal slide. being
Oh, well,
too
no,
high.
that's part of the. Now we have a cover
We
for
do
the
now.
slide
Okay.
that's been
Right.
ordered too. Believe it or not, the lead time on both of those were like 9 weeks. I was just like, what?
Well.
But anyway, those are coming. So yeah, the slide will be covered
Mm-hmm.
in the heat, and then we've got more playground equipment coming.
Oh, nice,
So more
okay.
things to for the kids to do at the back there. And we got some more lighting going on out there. We've got the trail leading through the woods, that little trail for
Right,
parking out
right.
for events where people park off of what is it?
Da Vinci Court.
Da Vinci Court. And so we've got a number of kind of permanent upgrades that we're doing out there to support, like you said. We've got a movie schedule that came out.
Mm-hmm.
We got a sports viewing schedule that'll come out shortly
That's
about
cool,
kind of the
yeah.
events that we'll have out there again
On the big
on
screen
the
and
big
stuff.
screen. Then we announced this year, first time, a night market, a night farmers market.
Yeah. Why night? I'm curious.
Well, so when we're looking at who we might be competing with
Uh-huh.
outside of the area or in the area outside of Peachtree Corners, and not wanting to step on anybody's toes or try to do something that you can get somewhere else, there's a few cases where there have been night markets
Mm-hmm.
and they've worked well. So we thought, we could do it on, I believe it's going to be
It's
a
a
Friday
Friday
night.
night.
Once a month, like 6:30 to 9,
9,
6 to
9:30.
9, something like that. And we thought it's a good way to finish the week out, go out there, get some people now. And then it also prevents the vendors from having to choose if we were doing it. So now they can
Right,
do hours, and then the next day they can go somewhere
Because
else.
there's really no night market in the
No, there
immediate
isn't.
area.
There is not.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of any. Usually it's Saturday mornings,
Correct.
I think.
Or Saturday afternoons or all day
Right,
Saturday or
right.
whatever. But no, this one. And, when you have a facility that has the lighting that ours will, because, we're adding
More lights. for the
lighting
evening.
right there
Yeah.
for the the middle green area, town green area. It'll be a good, helps the businesses out there. It's more
Yeah.
people out there and something to do, and it's fresh, vegetables, fruit, other things for people to get.
There's new restaurants that Fire Pizza and what's it called? Fire Pizza.
Is it
It's a big-
Firestone or something?
Yeah, Firestone Pizza. That's it. Not Firebirds, which is the restaurant just down
Right.
the block from it. Although we did have a closure, the coffee shop closed.
Revelator.
Closed.
Yep.
Or anything
But
new?
then I think they closed multiple locations at the
Yes,
same
it wasn't
time.
just the only one.
Right.
They supposedly expanded too fast.
Right.
That's what the problem was. Good.
And
Lots
then
of-
Uncle Jack's Meat House is
Yeah, the
being
building.
constructed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
He's going to have a truck out there, food truck, I think. No, are you guys going to let him? Because he's doing this food truck going around some of the properties. It sounds like. I don't know if you heard about that.
Mm-mm.
Uncle Jack's food truck, sort of give a taste of Uncle Jack's Meat House.
Where's he running it right now?
I'm not sure. I've seen the picture of the truck, and I heard that it's going to be around. So I'm not sure if it's just at festivals, or if he's trying to if he might even want to bring it to town center before it opens. I don't know.
I think we can surely facilitate that.
Yeah.
We definitely, just open it up to where you can have it in the tech park
Tech park,
itself,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
And then, for events, we have lots of food trucks.
Yeah.
Under a special event permit. So food trucks are, becoming more and more popular.
For sure.
And so we want to do what we can to facilitate that.
And we're going to talk about food trucks and food and stuff. Can't wait for the festival. Peachtree Corners Festival is actually moving from where it's been for years, or for several years, to Town Center now.
Really quick, was it ever at a location other than
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's only been
since it's been
and that's
since
it.
its
Yeah.
inception?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's moving over to the town center area. So it's really going to be a combination of before when you were out on whatever that road was around there. Was that
Crooked
Is
Creek
it-
Parkway. I
okay?
guess.
Is it by
Marriott Queen is behind there.
yeah, and
Chick-fil-A
Comcast
and all that. Yes, Comcast right there.
But all the things that you saw on the road at the last location will be on the section of Peachtree Corners Circle between 141 and Medlock,
Right.
and maybe even between the Da Vinci Court entrance and Medlock.
Okay.
That'll be where they're set up. The car shows,
Right. And there were two car shows last year, actually. There was the
right, and so
classic car and the Italian car show.
and so that'll be used similar.
Okay. And the
And then-
vendors themselves?
And the vendors there too. Food trucks
Really?
will pull right there, just like it kind of was
Okay.
on the road. And then the concerts and other things that you normally had
would be on the green.
will be on the town
And
green.
what about some of the other
The kids
vendors?
area will potentially be. I want to say that might be on the top deck of the top level of the parking deck.
Really? Okay.
And so, but there's enough space. But
Yeah,
it's
you
the
can-
first time, and you got to move it around. But
Sure.
that's why we built it. Our permanent establishments there will benefit from it.
Oh, for sure. I would think.
And it's a great gathering place. It's got, parking opportunities.
And great for people that don't even know about Town Center.
Right.
That would be coming to the festival to say, wow, I didn't know this was here. So, cool. Great. So we have that going on. Five Serve, they're doing demolition, they're planting trees. That's
Yeah, I mean,
moving
Five
along.
Serves, so that
Oh, the old Five Serve
yeah,
property.
the old Five Serve property. So that age-restricted active adult community is
Right.
well on its way. They've demoed almost all of the old buildings that were on there.
Oh, okay.
And now they've already started planting the trees that are going to be buffering that property from neighboring residential properties, which were part of one of the conditions, replacing the fence that was in existence, had been put there many years ago along the Riverfield subdivision property, and they're getting ready to start doing some site prep. So you're gonna, there's gonna be some bulldozers and earth moving equipment as they get pads prepped
Right.
to
actually build
to
on.
put some buildings on. There'll be some tree removal, mostly what I think are worthless, loblolly pines, which are really tall
Right.
but have almost no shade value, and there's a lot of those on there, but all within the permit and within the river corridor. So it's all it's all
Well,
been.
and they're building in phases anyway. It's not like they're going to
That's
clear
correct.
cut something that they're not building on.
That's
anyway.
correct.
All right, cool. So we've let's talk a little bit about Curiosity Lab. But before we get to that, Smart City Expo that the city was involved in last year. Are you guys going to be returning to that? That's going to be in June, I think. Now. or
It
something.
is. We are a part of it.
Okay.
What we're trying to figure out is the best thing to do potentially the afternoon before.
Okay.
Just because last year we had our grand opening
Right. Right.
and it was,
So what can
over
you do?
500 people, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to replicate that.
Mhm.
But we're trying to figure out what's some good things to have, and we're kind of, smoking over a few options, but we're gonna do something unique up here. And then yes, I've been asked to speak
Yes.
at the conference down in
Okay.
Atlanta, and we'll have a booth down there with Sprint again, and so we'll be active in it. We can't not be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
No, I
too.
would think that's a big advantage.
And
to
and
that.
Artie Tandon, the founder of Smart City Expo Atlanta, is a great partner of ours, and she wants us involved, and we want to be involved. And she's there's a lot of things that her and her team learned last year that I'm pretty excited about how they're going to resolve or improve on those things that they were like, oh, we didn't know. I mean, so it's going to be a good
Right.
one.
It's always a learning curve doing something the first time like
Mm-hmm.
that, right? And Brandon, he's going to be speaking at MIT now.
Yeah, so we're starting to get, some invitations to people, within this process that are pretty impressive. Betsy Plattenberg, the executive director of Curiosity Lab, has been involved in a lot of the local, like the Technology Association of Georgia, TAG, and her Georgia Tech ties. She's a former employee there, but then she's been asked to speak and do some things down there, pretty impressive. And then outside of tech and Betsy's involvement there, Brandon, who became the city's chief technology officer because of both our deployment of smart city technology citywide, but also within Curiosity Lab. His technical expertise in some of these areas that are at the kind of cutting edge got the I guess interest and piqued the curiosity, pun intended, of some people in that arena. And there's a conference, and I can't remember which one it is, but he was asked to speak at MIT. Wow. So he has been asked to speak there on some stuff here. And so, we're showing the flag pretty well. And, we feel the Innovation Center, Betsy Pottenberg and then her associate director, Caitlin Ferguson, they were dealing with a program for startups through the European Union. And we're going to essentially have a program this summer in which it's almost like an internship for startups, where companies with multiple people will come into the Innovation Center and spend some time. And these are companies that are members of the European Union that are coming over here looking to maybe expand their proof of concept, into or test their proof of concept or expand it and demonstrate it in North America and use our facility as an opportunity to do that. So just lots of little unique things
everything's from coming from around the world.
Right.
And then little old Peachtree Corners.
And then, you'll get an invite for this, but here in a couple weeks, I believe it's March 16th, we're going to kind of have our kickoff event for the teleoperated e-scooters. And we're going to, so we've deployed a few of them right now. And those are e-scooters that are off-the-shelf e-scooters, but they've been retrofitted with a camera and training wheels.
So when is that happening?
And so I believe it's March 16th is when we're going to have a big day to where and you'll get an invitation because we want you to, but we'll have kind of a demo. We'll talk about how this technology is going to hopefully be used to resolve some of the e-scooter issues that we've seen in Atlanta or elsewhere, which is, scooters just left wherever. And in this case, this company can have people from a distance drive these things without somebody on them.
Right.
Including an app. There is an app that you can summon an e-scooter like you would an Uber. And the company that has the teleoperation component, which is called Tortoise, they have a teleoperation center in Mexico City. So there's somebody in Mexico City that logs in to the camera and the little mini computer on the e-scooter, and then he or she takes it over, drops the training wheels, and then drives it certain places, whether it's to go pick you up and then you jump on it and then you drive it like normal. But when you're done, you leave it there, then they can drive it maybe to the next place to pick up somebody or to a docking station or what, but that they don't have to get a truck, a couple of guys, and drive around the city every night picking up e-scooters.
The way they were doing in Atlanta, and that's
correct.
I think there's a moratorium still on that right now. So
So we got some pretty cool stuff that are getting ready to you're going to see on the tracks. You're going to see scooters driving around with nobody on them in the test lanes. But for those who want to do it,
there's also so much going on. When when we were talking before the podcast about technology, someone has to repair some of these things, right? So we were talking about Gwinnett Tech and Curiosity Labs, maybe a new automotive program, teaching kids or adults maybe, I don't know, to repair some of these things too.
Yeah, so we never think about this, but so we've got auto mechanics that exist right now, right? And these people, these kids or adults, whatever, but they go to school. They'll go through a certain amount of training. At the end of it, they'll be a certified like Honda mechanic or Mercedes mechanic, and they're certified to work on certain things, and we think about that, we take it for granted, but think about all the technology that over time gets invented, or in the case of autonomous vehicles, it doesn't really exist on any other vehicle. And so at some point before too long, there are going to be people who are going to be needed to fix those devices that are unique to these advanced vehicles. LiDAR is a great example. It's a unique type of radar that these autonomous vehicles use to read the roadway. Well, they're not on any human-driven cars. So if it goes down, where do you take it?
Right.
Well, Gwinnett Tech is creating a curriculum for people to go through and get certified to repair those devices. And we're talking to them about maybe Curiosity Lab being a part of the curriculum for these students to go and maybe get real world, exposure to this kind of stuff at our laboratory that they would not be able to get if they were just in the maintenance bays or just on computers.
For sure. And it's a move that a lot of county school systems are looking at too, because, for example, in Gwinnett County, I forget the name of the high school now, it's a themed high school similar to Paul Duke STEM and such, but their theme is an introduction of AI technology and teaching young kids, high school age kids, to be able to program and work in an AI environment. This just came out just recently. I think the Gwinnett Daily Post has a post on it. Just this week I saw the article. And it's amazing to me because it, makes sense. I just never, when you're not thinking down that line, it's like the coronavirus. Everyone thinks it's a disease, and this and that, but they don't think about the economic impact that something like that has.
And we're getting ready to feel it. Yep.
That. Yes. So, when product can't be delivered, components to other products can't be delivered. I mean, 80%, not to go for tangent, but 80% of our the 80% of the active ingredient of our pharmaceuticals come from China, for example. And I think 70% of our antibiotics come from China. People don't think about that.
No.
It's not something that would be in the know unless you know that stuff, and it's just amazing to me. But we are teaching kids to be able to work in that environment. By 2030, a kid graduating from a high school or even a college level, probably even high school, because it could almost be like the vocational schools of decades ago, where they're graduating and they know AI and they can work in the robotics industry and programming and all that, just because that's where it's going. I mean, you need to be able to know that stuff. So
I'm challenged all the time. I have younger kids. Is how much technology do you let them be on for them to be tech savvy? Where I know they're going to have to be, but yet how much is too much?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a struggle, but I get blown away all the time. I mean, here's another one I didn't realize. What's the most connected device in society right now?
You would think the phone.
It is.
Okay.
But inside of 3 years, the car will supplant the phone as the most connected device, for it to have more connections as it's doing its thing than a phone. Despite all the apps that we have on a phone that's constantly connecting, the car will supersede that. And when you think about it, you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense, because again, like Curiosity Lab, the city street of the future, you have a connected vehicle on, Curiosity Lab, as it's going down the road. It's talking to the street lights.
Right.
It's talking to the video cameras. It's talking to the traffic signal. It's talking to the cars coming the other way, or the car that it's behind, or your phone as you're getting ready to cross, or the cyclist that is overtaken. That can happen at Curiosity Lab right now.
Right.
That's a lot of connectivity.
And this is why this lab allows that testing to go on. And
that's why you need 5G too, because there's just so much.
This way, there's not a delay in
correct, and latency. And so I mean, so society is changing very quickly, and I'm glad I don't have to be the one to have to know how to do all this.
You can hire those people,
right?
But we should all, when we think about these things, we should slow down a little bit and also think about what that means, because everyone thinks, well, a self-driving car, it's going to be right here. Tesla's doing it. Their cars are actually enabled to be able to do the level 4, level 5. 4 at this point, right? So they're enabled to be able to do that. They're just not there enabled yet, but they can do that. But there's also different types of vehicles, delivery vehicles, food delivery vehicles. You know, it may not be the Domino's kid, pimpled-faced kid dropping off the
Right.
box now.
It could be a small bot on the sidewalk
Right.
that
Yeah.
went up and delivered, or it could be a drone that delivers it to a kiosk
Correct.
that is in an apartment complex.
That's
And
right.
then when you get a notification that your order hit, you walk up to it, your phone goes there, and then a certain compartment where your order was dropped into, you pull it out, walk back to your apartment, and
It's amazing.
that's
I mean,
being tested right now.
and if you look at sci-fi and stuff like that, you'll see like even van-sized autonomous vehicles driving up where you can like they're essentially food vending machines that could drive up that could be half that size even and get your pizza out. Or if you're working, that'll be your food truck at some point.
Yeah.
All right, we've come to the 2-hour time with Brian. I don't want to be taking too much of your time on this, but we've covered a lot. And there's a lot going on in the city and around the city, and more to discuss as the months go by. Certainly, as we get into, let's hope we get into warmer weather and drier weather would be nice.
And, a lot of activity. I mean, this city over those months, before too long, you're going to be getting into the spring breaks, lots
Right.
of families traveling,
That's
and then
right.
the school year ends.
Yeah.
And then you've got, baseball season just started. Opening day is a
When is it?
week from Saturday
Wow.
at Pinckneyville Park.
Okay.
Week from Saturday.
Yes. Isn't
And
that all right?
yes,
Let's
I'm
hope
just
it's
like,
warm enough for those kids to be able to
I
play
got
Saturday.
practice tonight, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, at 7:30.
Wow, it's gonna be cold.
It is. I mean, so I got to coach my son's team in that, and so but before you know it, it'll be nice. You're doing that.
Yeah.
Swim season starts, and the neighborhood swim season
That's right.
starts. I
That's
mean,
right.
it'll be here before we know it.
So I want you guys looking for our next issue, the April-May issue. Our main stories are going to be about youth sports. We're going to be covering baseball, softball, middle school soccer, and the soccer league. We have a bunch of things we're going to be covering in that issue, from sports and along with other things. We pack every issue. We try to anyway. So feel free, look at livinginpeachtreecorners.com to find out the latest digital edition. You can find online if you haven't gotten it in the mail, or if you don't live in the city and you want to be able to see what it looks like. And if you want a copy, call me, email me, and I'll send you a copy of the magazine. It's editor@livinginpeachtreecorners.com. If you want to
City
discuss,
Hall has extra ones, so we
right, and there's 130 odd places you can find it at.
Yep.
I know Dunkin' Donuts has it, Ingles, Library. There's a variety of places, so you can't really mess up. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.